What is a good and fulfilling life of a human according to you? Is it more like enjoyment and fun, etc., or more like striving for values and principles, or maybe something completely different? Um, I think we've had enough conversations, and you've watched enough of the videos that I put on YouTube to know what I would say about values and principles, right? Then I don't understand why you would ask that question. What values and principles for what? What's the end goal of values and principles? Maybe values for less suffering in me and others, but how would values do that? A value is what? It's an idea. It's a okay. I have the value that everyone should be, or I should be polite to everyone. Yeah, or some prescription. So it's just a thought, an idea. Why would that cause less suffering? Why would you not want to see what's causing the suffering, if there is even such a thing? But yeah, like I say, why would you ask me that question when you know what I would say values and principles? And you've heard me say enough times that talking about life being about enjoyment, right? We're meant to enjoy life. I don't know, maybe you have never heard me say that, but it seems to me it seems quite obvious. It seems like a kind of question that you know the answer to, as far as what I would say to it. Now there are two of us. Is this a duality? No, because ultimately there aren't two of us. But for what we see, and yeah, for any kind of interaction, yeah, there is a duality. What's wrong with duality? And like, what's the? It sounds like presentation of a problem. Like, oh, is this now? If things are dualistic, then they are not real. Like, then it's not authentic enough or something. What's wrong with duality? I also wonder what would be the benefit of knowing whether this is a duality or not. Better understanding reality just for the sake of it. What's the use of understanding? Reality is reality. There's nothing to understand. Really, there's nothing to understand. So the only thing would be that I now have a grip on reality, or I have some wisdom or knowledge about it, so I can promote myself. I have a nice image of myself as someone who knows. And maybe, with the end goal always being, I'll get some attention for it. And that will somehow prove my worth or confirm that I exist or stuff like that, you know? Uh, the term non-duality just points to, it just states that there are not two different things. And that's a, I don't know if to call it an intuitive thing. Um, and it sort of pulls the carpet away from under all the construct of suffering and incompleteness and insufficiency and discontent and all that. It's really language. We're only talking about language ultimately. Duality or non-duality, they're just words. It's just like, without language, duality doesn't exist. And with language, it doesn't exist as such, but it's it's a tool, let's say, for expressing things, because humans do have the capacity for language. It's a gift that humans have, like all animals, certain heightened senses or whatever. So for creative expression and the use of language, duality is what it is. But it's not more than that. And so better understanding reality, no. Because the language that we're using, which is used for expression, it's not used to, it's not, it's never going to lead to some ultimate uh, deep analysis, which is going to like make everything, I don't know, make everything better. Nothing needs to get better. So, yeah, so the game of better understanding reality, for example, is just really self-seeking. It's vain. It's vanity. It's a promotion of an image of myself, which I can present to the world. Yeah, and then hopefully get good feedback, and then at least have some standing in the world. I have some reference point, position, and now I can go from there, and hopefully I'll get some momentum with success and money and ensure my survival and all these things I think I'm responsible for. Yes, still from the practical perspective, if we better understand reality, for example, food, then we can choose food which is good for us and that which is poisonous to us. Is this not beneficial? Okay, but then tell me how understanding whether there are two of us or whether this is a duality or not, how does that help you choose which foods to eat? We were talking just now about a better understanding of reality as a whole. Yeah. Now you're talking about a better understanding of what foods to eat. You're not talking about a better understanding of reality. And it's not the same thing. What's wrong with knowing which food is poisonous to us? It came from trial and error anyway, knowledge. Food is part of reality as everything else. You're not listening, you're not understanding. The comment was, now, are there two of us, the duality? Then I said, what's the point of understanding that, of knowing whether there's a duality or not? You then said, a better understanding of reality. So, in what sense? You mean the totality of reality in that case, right? For that, there's no point in trying to understand it. It's not possible anyway. Now you're talking, and then you agree with that, but then at the same time, which isn't possible that you then understood that, now you're talking about food, and food is part of reality, as is everything else. No, it's not. It's not part of anything, it's just food. You're making some kind of a big container that has everything, and that you call reality, and you think you can understand it, but you can't. So if you piece everything, you understand food, you understand psychology, you understand uh, whatever, maths. If you get enough knowledge of everything, then you understand the whole reality. Think about it for a second. It's not even logical. And even if you prove a point, again, what's the benefit? Proven that it's useful to understand reality. Okay, you've made it what, a principle or value? When you say reality, do you mean a concept, abstract of reality? I don't even know what that means. I have no interest at all, whether it's a concept or abstract or what. We're just talking. It's just a casual conversation. So again, if you want to understand the meaning of life, or the what is life, or what is the ultimate truth, yeah, then you're on a hopeless search. If you want to understand relative things like food, that's a whole different thing. Yeah. So in that sense, it's not part of, okay, it's part of reality. Then we're talking about the everyday world. We're talking about nature, really. You can't understand nature as a whole, but you can understand, oh, okay, yeah, they eat this food, don't mess with that animal. Yeah, so it's a there are two different things. Duality is not like a thing, relatively speaking, like food is. Food is a thing, you can say, yeah? But duality isn't. Non-duality either. No, you're not going to irritate me. If I want to be irritated, I'll be irritated. Um, but I'm not irritated. It's just a, like, I guess these conversations, you get to a point where it's useful to see where is it heading. Where is it heading? That if you say that we can try and understand, it's useful because we can try and understand reality. Um, what would be what's the end goal? Some value or principle to make things better. So we're back to, so let's make them better. And that dynamic of before better, next, before worse, next better, or yeah, all that kind of juxtaposition is not real. Ultimately, that's the whole point of, that's the beauty of what, of the non-duality of what there is ultimately, right? Of the whole. There is no juxtaposition because there aren't two things. You need two things to be opposed. So you could say, like, there's like a substance and it's singular. Yeah, it's not a substance, but let's just call it that. It's singular. Yeah, like a piece of cloth. Like, it's singular, and then that same singularity takes the form of one thing and of another. Yeah, so it's basically itself talking to itself, for example, and then it goes back to its, the short span of what we call lives. Yeah, individual lives, or lives of beings, they take, or things. Nothing really lasts, right? A house will crumble eventually. A person or a dog will die eventually. So it's like this singularity. You see it. Let's say you see it like a big piece of fabric, and then that fabric itself takes us, and then it lets that shape go. Like, it comes shape again. You could say, yeah. So you see, there is no duality there because it's just something. Okay, but for the purpose of creativity, let's say, or whatever, no purpose really, but there's just some. It makes it possible. It's like as if this two-dimensional piece of cloth now creates a kind of a realm, and within that, like three-dimensional or whatever, and then within that you can have some interaction, you can have some expression, you can have creativity. Yeah, that's all it is. So see that within that context, how important really is it to understand reality? Even how important really is it to understand food? It's because the this is like a nuance, you could say. The understanding of it is what's exaggerated. Because if you are alone in some forest, in some natural environment that you for, yeah, let's say you grew up in Europe and you end up in the Amazon by yourself, and you don't know what you can eat or not, but you need to eat something, you will get some kind of intuitive sense of what you can eat and what you can't. That's the only compass. That's the only direction. That's the only guidance there is. That's it. And that's all of it. So then just accept that for for the moment, just for argument's sake, then within that context, how important really is knowledge, having a store of knowledge. And if you have picked things up through your life that you know, then maybe that's because at some point they'll become useful to you in a certain circumstance. Yeah, that's it. But the useful thing to see, I guess, this exaggerated importance on a body of knowledge and understanding. Yeah, and see how that's just a promotion of an image of myself that I'm projecting because I think that the way I am, somehow there's a flaw there, or it's not enough or something. So I spend my whole life constructing images of myself and adding to them, making tweaks, cultivating something. Yeah, that's what I then call that's me, and it has nothing to do with what's already there, which is just the way you are, as you are. And then, okay, some pedant will come along and say, ultimately, there's no you, there's no self. And yes, ultimately, that's true. But that's not the freedom. Seeing that is not the freedom. You can see that, and then in the next moment, the claiming can come and take that. And that's what happens on YouTube so much. Someone has some insight which is meant to help them it's meant to be a gift, yeah, or it's meant to be a response to their heart's desire to really kind of go deep somehow. And in the next moment, that's claimed now as another image I can project, like I am the one who has seen, and now I'm going to regurgitate everything I've spent so much time listening to, and now I can also speak as an authority that there is no self and all that. That's not where the freedom is. The freedom is only, let's say, you could say, in the complete reliance on that compass which is inside. I don't know, it's weird, it's not really the right way to say it, but whatever, I can't think of anything else. So the no self thing, this radical non-duality, it leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation, and just because someone has a glimpse that there is ultimately no one, which is actually logic, because if there is just this piece of fabric, let's say, yeah, just this singularity, how can there be one or another one? No. So it's not an ultimate reality. But seeing that doesn't mean that you're living, that you're really, that there's a full expression of life without this slavery to the social how do you call it, paradigm. Yeah, and that's the freedom from that. So again, the reliance on the inner, on intuition, you could say, that's really the freedom. That's the way in this realm life would be lived free, without the obedience and the bowing down and the slavery to constructing these images, projecting them, looking for approval, doing it again and again and again and again. Yeah. And that happens through a false sense of where we as humans are in the context of things. So at the center, at the top, yeah, which is not the way it is. So there's a disharmony there. There's a clashing there because of those mistaken views and the exaggerated importance of humans. Then you have the birth or the genesis of this collective view, which is always, it's all about ideas and values and principles, and that's why those things are useless and nonsense. In day-to-day life, I feel some kind of lack, like a shadow following me. When I listen to you, what you say resonates with me, and I don't feel that lack, but after a while, I feel that lack again. Yeah. Do let me know if you have a question there. Well, I asked one day what I should do, but like you said, there's no should. The thing about it is that what you're saying, that there's something that resonates. It's all about that. It's not what I'm saying. It's the resonance that's in you, right? So it's basically like whatever they they trigger something or speak to something that's already in the DNA. Yeah. So it's already there, whether it gets talked to or not. It's already there. A, a, a conversation can be interesting. Let's like you have a conversation with a friend. They can, while talking, you realize things. Maybe you have an issue. Your girlfriend left you. Then you talk about it. Then you have a nice conversation. Then you see things a little bit differently. Maybe in that sense, okay, it can uh, speak to that which doesn't often get spoken to. You know what I mean? But the resonance is in you. So how would it ever be up to me to tell you what to do or what you should do or anything like that? It's not the case at all. It's not possible. It wouldn't be correct. There is, yeah, like you say, you already know that there is no should. It's all about your, uh, I don't know, and you could say, come at it from so many angles. It's all about trust and firmness, being firm not to follow the ego's talk, let's say, yeah, to put your foot down, really. That's the ego in us and also in those around us, which is the same, really. It's just a collective body of beliefs that we're following. And the trust that in the evidence of what you already have. Yeah? If you have food, if you have shelter, just in this case, there's really this thing also. If you know the logic, it's always really quite simple logic. Know that you're completely dependent on food, on oxygen, the balance of gases in the atmosphere that make life possible and all that. Did you do any of that? No. Then how important is your role in ensuring your survival or your earning money or being healthy or uh, being free, living a fulfilled life? How important is your role really in that? Look at that, for example. There is no role. We don't play a role in anything. From another angle, you can say, look at the lack. See if there's really a lack. Instead of trying to run away with it or cover it, go into it without the commentary, yeah, without the thoughts about it. Just what's the sensation? What's really there? It's really all about like what's I don't know, if you find your deepest kind of, if you have a desire to go deep enough, if your sincere desire is to go deep enough to not accept the fakery around you, then that's what's going to be in your life. If you enjoy the negativity and the attention that you get from thinking about yourself all the time, if you like the image that you have of yourself as the one who is suffering or the one who is seeking, or if you have there's a certain flavor, like a certain something to this, not a temptation, but kind of like tantalizing or seductive, yeah, some flattery about these images, and we enjoy those. So if you like those, then that's going to be your reality. If you're not firm about those, rejecting those, or not compromising yourself, firm about those things, then that will be your reality.